participate. All right, great. Eric, thanks for closing that out. Again, wow, 56%, over 10,000. So we do have some large organizations on today's session. And at the other end, we've got 15% who have less than 100. And what I would say is every organization needs measurements. It's a matter of choosing which ones are right for your organization. So let's take one more question so I can understand the participants on today's session. For you specifically, how many years experience do you have in the workforce? I want to know if I'm talking to an audience that might have a lot of experience, or as it's starting to look, a whole variety of experience. I would say that what we're going to talk about today is relevant no matter how much experience you have. And my goal would be that you listen, and even if you've heard some of what I'm saying before, listen for what's new, listen perhaps for how you haven't thought about it before, and listen for how you can apply it to your organization. And it looks like, Eric, again, thank you for closing that out. We've got 42% that have over 20 years experience, so that's a lot. That is definitely a lot of experience, so that's good to hear. What I'd like to go ahead and do is take a look at the question that I see we've got. And Eric, I'm having a little bit of a problem seeing the question. Could you go ahead and paste that first question into text chat, and we'll take a look at that in just a minute.
They were answering your question about where they were located, and put there in their question spot, not the text chat.
Fantastic. So it looks like we have some in the airline industry. A lot of change going on in the airline industry, so measurement is even more important there as we're looking to make sure we're providing relevant measures to our business leaders. So let's take a quick look at a vision for business intelligence. And I think it's important to really think about it as intelligence because it's going to help us make more intelligent decisions. The way we look at it at Grant Thornton is how do we enable our firm and our internal clients to make really better decisions based on timely, consistent, and relevant information. And if we're helping our firm do that, then we're doing our job. And, you know, there's an interesting example that I think is relevant to everybody, no matter your experience or industry, and that's healthcare. And whether you are in favor of any healthcare reform that's passed or may pass in the future, or not in favor of how it's passed, is not important. What does matter are some of the measures. And it's interesting if you look at the World Health Organization. They ranked the U.S. overall as having the 37th best healthcare in the world. And some of the measures that related to that, they ranked us as 26th in infant mortality. They ranked us as number 1 in terms of medical bankruptcies, and number 1 in terms of the expenses we have per person. And we really, for most developed countries, when you look at their average, we spend about 2.5 times as much per person on average relative to the world's most developed countries. And so whether the reform is going to help address that or not, I can't say, but it does tell us there's a problem and perhaps gives us an idea of where we need to look for answers. And so those measures often give you a step in the right direction, and you need to keep digging to really understand the cause and come up with a solution. And so having the right data can help you do that. As we look at the next slide, we also have to really think about who do we want to help make better decisions. So in our organization, we look at leadership and clients. And our leadership could be the firm leadership, it might be the different business units, or our leadership team within strategic learning. We also have to look at our internal clients, so sponsors of our learning initiatives, liaisons that we work with between the business unit and our team, our own client service team, so the people that focus on working with tax or audit, and then our program leaders or instructors. What's the data that's going to help them be more effective and drive them to make the right decisions? And we really find that by providing the right high-level strategic data for the right people, or providing operational and tactical data, we can help drive them to better decisions, so that it doesn't have to be what we're telling them to do, but we're using the data to help make a better decision. And we'll talk about some specific examples of that in just a few minutes. I am curious to know, and if you could raise your hands for this, how many of you really believe that you have a good model or framework in place for how you want to approach measurement? If you feel like you've got that in place, go ahead and raise your hand. You should see that hand in your participant panel. And I'm going to expect there probably aren't a lot of organizations that have this in place yet. It's probably one of the more difficult things to get in place, but it is an important step in the process. So while you're raising your hands, I'll go ahead and walk through the model that I'm happy for you to take from us. It's a model that we pieced together from several different sources. So the first is to think about, what are the investments your organization makes? And that's different types of capital. You can see it might be building skills and competencies. Your organization might and probably does provide specific tools to help your people do their job better. You want to gather best practices and make those available so people are really doing what the organization has shown to be the best. And you want to help build culture. Those are different types of investments that you make. Then you can look at different types of efficiency and effectiveness measures, different categories that those investments could fall into. So do those investments help your people be more productive? Do they decrease your business risk? Do they improve client satisfaction? And I would argue that just about any initiative you're working on is going to help drive effectiveness or efficiency in one of these categories, if not many. A quick example, I had a conversation with our valuation services practice this week, and they have a program where they are helping people learn how to build financial models. So they're learning conceptually how to build those, but they're also using Excel as the tool to build those out. So we had a conversation about what impact is that going to have on the business. And we really saw several measures that related to productivity and to quality. And we thought there might be some other measures that were secondary, but the primary ones landed in productivity and quality. So as you're looking at different measures that you could have in place, I think you want to really think about these categories. It's going to help direct your thinking in a useful way. Of course, one of the last and perhaps most difficult measures is trying to directly correlate financial measures to any learning initiative. And so it could be increasing revenue or decreasing cost. And I do connect the learning and the business initiative. And that is a tricky part to do because learning is just a piece of the change. And that can be the most difficult about financial measures. In our organization, we don't, unless there is an overt, direct financial correlation, we don't spend a lot of time at this point connecting learning results to financial measures, but we do look at the efficiency and effectiveness. I think you have to choose in your organization what's going to be most important to do and what data you already have available to help you do that. So go ahead and borrow as much as you'd like from this model. It's nothing really original here, but it is a way to think about how you tie everything together in your organization. So what I'd like to do is just, before we have another couple of questions, I'd like you to think about all the data